So the NAMA facility is different from other kinds of NAMA financing programs in that it's focusing on the implementation of NAMAs as opposed to the preparation of NAMAs. But we still see different interpretations of what is ready for implementation and what is implementation in fact in different stakeholders' view. So what do we mean by implementation and implementation readiness in an NAMA facility?
Yeah, actually, if you look at preparation as opposed to implementation, you can look at a sector and the whole chain of events, so to say. I mean, start with policy and strategies and regulations, pilots, and then activity implementation. And what the one who is elaborating a policy might already call the elaboration of a strategy, it's implementation. The NAMA facility comes in at the very end of the chain. So for us, implementation is really putting something on the ground. Now, what does it mean exactly? I'll give you an example. We're talking, for example, we receive a project on a waste treatment plant. So, waste treatment plant with a technology that is new for the country, that is being set up maybe in public ownership, and during the 5 years of implementation, the project delivery organization is going to develop a financing mechanism in order to work as a PPP or whatsoever at the end of the 5 years. This, for us, clearly is not ready. It's not only that we don't want to finance pilots, technology must be ready, and clearly adapted to the local background. But also for us, the financing mechanism is so key that we don't want to spend 5 years of implementation time developing a financing mechanism. Now what we say is that the financing mechanism needs to be ready at the beginning of implementation. Meaning institutions need to be defined, the mechanism as such needs to be defined, and phase-out concept needs to be there. So the whole financing mechanism needs to be ready. This is in order to kick in during implementation. Having said so, it's not only that we do not finance pilots, we do not like to finance investment at all. So if we would receive a project saying let's finance waste treatment plants throughout the country or contribute to that, we would not like to do that. What we like to finance, or what we actually are financing, is the mechanism. It's not the investment, it's the mechanism. Because our funds are limited, it's 5 to 20 million euros, and we just can't, even if we do that as a guarantee scheme might help, but if we do that as project finance, it doesn't reach anywhere. So we need to find a mechanism, an intelligent mechanism, to make the best use of these 5 to 20 million in order to attract the private sector, mostly the private sector, maybe also the public sector, but mostly the private sector, into certain areas of low carbon alternatives.
So the readiness you are looking for is the readiness of the financing mechanism in order for us to be seen as promoting the mitigation action, which is what NAMAS is about, and it's about mitigation action. In order for us to see that through a 5-year period, which is the implementation time that we have for our support, we would need to have these financing mechanisms ready for implementation, as you say, in the beginning, because otherwise they would never have a chance to function before we end our involvement.
Yes, exactly. I mean, essentially, readiness for implementation for us means readiness of the financing mechanism. And maybe there's another aspect which needs to be ready at the beginning of implementation, and this and this comes together, it's related to the financing mechanism, is a regulatory scheme. So that's the other thing. We wouldn't want to wait 5 years to develop a certain regulation that then would come in together with the financing mechanism to steer or reverse the flow of funds in the sector. Now, both the regulation, and we don't say the regulation needs to be put into laws and regulation and processes and so on, but at least, I mean, the political will must be seen, and it must have a certain degree of ripeness, let's say. I mean, maybe last decisions in Parliament missing or something, but something must be clearly underway, which shows that the government wants to go in a certain direction. We are supporting this direction with a financing mechanism.